few people who are actually doing both peak 8 type exercises and power plate.
Hmm.
And I may be one of the very few that have, and maybe one of the only ones who've actually measured their growth hormone. And I just got my repeat growth hormone done from Dr. Jonathan Wright's lab, and
Hmm.
I actually have the highest growth hormone he ever tested.
Oh my
Uh,
word.
yeah, I mean, it's just shocking. And it was repeated. And actually, the repeat came back 25% higher. So I have to rule, it came back so high that he wants to rule out some pituitary tumors. And I'm confident that's not the case because
Hmm.
my growth IGF levels were normal. So that would be elevated in a pituitary tumor. So once we establish that, we're going to start looking at other individuals who are doing both and see that there's this potentially a phenomenally powerful synergy between acceleration technology like the power plate, which I think is the best device out there for acceleration technology. Because it really isn't vibration. Vibration is sort of a lay misnomer of it, but it really
Okay.
is. It's using acceleration to increase the forces of gravity so that you can actually get this strength like benefit and on your muscles without really using weight, instead of just changing the force of gravity up to 6 to 8 times the force of gravity, and by doing that, to actually stimulate growth hormone release.
And let me ask you something, because again, back to the viewing I had of the power play demo, which was great. Having seen you, it's been a year now, and
Mm-hmm.
having looked at that video, am I imagining that you've got your quads have completely changed?
Yeah, I think they did get bigger.
But I mean, there's like a quad there. I don't know that that was there a year ago.
Yeah, it's actually even gotten bigger since that video, because the video was actually shot in the fall, so that's almost 6 months ago now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's just extraordinary. I mean, the improvements continue to uh, continue, which
Yeah, well,
even
that
yeah.
was the most noticeable thing because I know personally that's one of the hard areas for me to develop or build a bunch of muscle. And I'm like, he's got some quads now, so good to see.
Yeah, well, I've
Uh,
been doing a lot of squats too. I mean, do squats on the
ah,
power plate, and I do squats for strength training.
mhm,
So, and actually, that what you can do rather than using acceleration technology and power plate, you can use strength training. And Phil goes into this really in his program on how to use that to a peak 8. So it's not really, I mean, you can use those principles where you in your squats, you just explode up, and he calls it
yeah,
X lifts for the
E-lift,
explosion.
E-lift.
E lifts.
Okay,
Actually, I
yeah,
call it X lifts. I said
yeah, okay,
E was just like, it looks like like an electronic internet thing, but no,
yeah,
he calls it E lifts. I call it X lifts
okay.
for explosion. But and when you do that with squats is probably the best thing you do with it. I mean, you're going to see amazing improvement in your muscular strength, and even in the strength in all the muscles in your body, because a squat, not only, it's a lot of people don't understand that they think they're just going to improve their leg strength, but it actually will improve your arms
Well,
and
it's
your
not bad for
chest,
the
because
booty either. Let's be serious.
yeah, well, that too, but I mean, the men are interested in their pecs and their biceps, so I mean, it
Mhm.
will improve the strength of those and the size of those too, because of the hormonal shifts that occur when you engage in that type of activity. I mean, the squats are profoundly beneficial exercise.
Okay, I've got to digress here again for a minute because this is kind of tickling my mind. We were talking about your top of mind current insight and boiling it down, distilling it down to a bullet point. It sounded like you were saying stockpiling food. You're
Well,
Joe.
just being prepared,
Okay,
definitely
well,
food, and just be, it's just the whole. I mean, just probably not just one thing, but just start looking at that area, because there's people who've written a lot about this. So
oh yeah,
it's a very complex process,
yeah.
not process, but the strategy that one needs to, and not complex but comprehensive, that needs to engage in to be prepared. But I was a
Well,
Boy Scout, and I'm
I
a
was a Girl Scout,
fully
and I
believe in
agree
be
with you.
prepared. So.
Well, let me ask you, so you're Joe Mercola. What are you stockpiling? What foods are you stockpiling or being prepared with?
Well, because of my website, we have access to a lot of whole food products. So, I mean, I've got a warehouse of that stuff that's, easily available to me. But for respect to live foods, I live on a lake that's well stocked, that has tens of thousands of pounds of fish in there, and I have the tools to get those fish if I need to. Now, normally I wouldn't eat the fish from the lake, but as an emergency, that's definitely a
Right.
possibility. So that's one source, and then having I guess, precious metals that you can easily barter for commodities, that other commodities
Right.
that you may need. So that's
Are
another.
you a gold or a silver bug?
Well, I think both are useful. I think silver is more practical for most people because it's more easily affordable. And as we
Hmm.
speak, it's about just about $31 an ounce. And last August, it was under 20, so it's gone up 50% in 6 months. And many people think it's going to be $50 before the end of the year. And you can, it's a been an age-old uh, tool for bartering,
Yeah.
and actually in some communities in the U.S. it is acceptable currency for exchange. And um, so if you have some of that, it's most likely not going to lose value. You're not going to get interest on it, but if an emergency happens, you can trade that for food or other items you might need.
Hmm. Okay, I have one. This is probably my last question, unless I think of something else here. Um, Over the last 3 months, what has been, I'm asking you my questions, other people ask you their questions. If you took a look at the last 3 months, what's been the most frequently asked question that you've gotten, and what was your answer?
Most frequently asked question in the last 3 months.
Hmm.
Hmm. I don't know that I can't give you a good answer on that because it's not like I have a lifestyle that I guess pushed me in front of the public where people are asking me questions all the time. I give presentations a few times a year, and so for the most part, I'm just writing and editing articles and
Hmm.
moderating the comments on those. So that experience doesn't really allow me to sort of enter a survey-like mode where I'm get a sense of what people's questions are.
Hmm.
So I'd have to.
Okay.
So I can't give you a good answer on that.
All right. Well, is there one question you'd like to ask me then? Heck, I'll turn it around.
Well, one of my passions and one of the reasons we're connected is the basically strategies to optimize aging,
Hmm.
and I guess especially with your book, one of the big issues is the strategies to uh, telomere to enhance telomere biology and
Hmm.
basically minimize telomere shortening and eventually actually increase the telomeres. So um, I guess one of the traditional strategies for the last few years, and really the only strategy that's been approved to actually use this, was a product called TA65, which I know you've been on, and
Hmm.
Dave, your partner, has been on too. So that seems like there's emerging and actually TA65 is producing some less expensive alternatives because that has been a practical barrier for many. It was relatively pricey for most to go on it.
Yeah, and when
And,
I got involved, and I helped actually, was instrumental in the launch of that, and I moved to New York from LA 4 years ago and just dug deep in, hunkered in, and helped that get going. Initially, the price was $25,000 a year.
mhm.
Now, part of that was very extensive over the course of a year lab work, but it was still, pricey. So yeah, they've come down in price, and we'll see what
No, but I think
disruptive
I just
tech.
recently got something from the one of the people, the principals, I think, in the company, and it said that they were actually having a product that's going down to like $200 a month or something.
Yeah, they are. They are. So they've realized that they need to make it more affordable. It's at a lesser dose at $200 a month than
Yeah.
the dose that some people would like to be taking, although it's an effective dose. But disruptive technology. There's stuff. There are people in kitchens and labs and scientific institutes all over the world looking for the bigger, better mousetrap in that one, and we'll have to. You and I will be, I'm sure, hearing about those probably pretty soon. But it's a good product. It's the only one out there now. I recommend it. We talk about it in the book. Um, and in the book, so for those who don't want to even spend, let's say, the lesser price of $200, let's say we're $50 a month and people don't want to spend that money, the point of the book is really what can you do in your everyday life without resorting to a telomerase activator
Mhm.
that will help slow down shortening, rejuvenate your telomeres. I like to say, here's to longer telomeres and beating the Hayflick limit. Um, so the book is designed, whether it's nutrition choices, and we have the Paleolithic diet in there. I know you're a believer
Mhm.
in that. And we have high-intensity interval training. We have some stress and mindfulness techniques. So those are all things that are just very useful, very helpful, very much part of this bridge, this telomere biology bridge to get us to the other side.
Well, I guess a follow-up question to that would be, because this is relatively new technology, that the prudent thing to do if you engage and to choose to participate in something like this, that to recognize, of course, it's going to be different in the future, so it would be wise to sort of bank your blood so that not you can do an actual assay of what your current telomere length is now, but then actually save some of that blood so that you could do a more accurate assay as the technology improves in the future. Because if you don't save it, you won't be able to test it.
Well, you're so spot on, and again, in the beginning with TA65, when everyone was getting their telomeres measured, the savvy few, because it was more expensive, for various reasons. But yeah, the current measures are iffy, sketchy. You can have your blood drawn one day and get two different readings on it. It's not the key thing is the current commercially available measures are mean telomere length.
Hmm.
So what they do is average out. And what's really important here, and a few lucky ones of us had our shortest telomeres measured at a lab over in Europe, is you may have the greatest telomeres on Earth running all through your body, but if you've got just a small percentage of critically short telomeres, you're worse off than the person who's got not quite so spectacularly long telomeres all over the course of the system. So mean telomere lengths available now. It's somewhat sketchy. Everyone admits it's somewhat off, not that reliable. Short telomere measures will be the gold standard. It's coming down the pike.
Hmm.
So yeah, if you can bank your blood now, put it in a vault somewhere with your silver, and hold
Well,
on to it.
well, that would be great, except silver is relatively stable and
Yeah, I know.
so
I'm
with the blood. So that which is really the practical part of this question is do you have any recommendations on where to bank your blood? Because obviously it has to be liquid nitrogen and kept at that temperature reliably for potentially years or
yeah.
decades.
Yeah, there are a couple of labs that do this, but frankly, it's not commercially available, so there's no real point in discussing it at this point anyway.
Okay.
But it will be, and we'll stay tuned. We'll keep everybody
Well,
tuned
is
on
that
that.
just I mean, there's no commercial labs that will bank your blood. I mean,
Um,
even like an ounce or two. I mean, it would seem to me that would be a need for that.
Yeah, there is a need for it, and it's my understanding that the guys who are doing it, it's for scientific studies and that sort of thing. It's not a commercial endeavor at this point. But
Wow,
you know
that's,
what?
that is surprising.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm gonna get back to you on that because that's information that's probably 6 or 8 months old, and that can all change. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna actually dig around for you on that and get back to you because
Yeah, and
I'm
please let me know because I'm personally interested in this, and I'd like
yeah.
to start a telomere activase program, but I'm reluctant to do so without some type of base measurement that I know I can reliably go back
Yeah.
and remeasure when the technology improves.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll have to keep people apprised of that. Um, it was really cool. It was great meeting you at the Manhattan Beach Project. I'd heard so much about you and was a big fan, and then later to have you come to the camp and participate was just a blast.
Mhm.
I love that we're on the same page on so many things, and I look forward to both of us keeping each other on every radar screen we need to be on, so that we can remain cutting edge and keep getting the word out to people about what's newest and bestest.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're a great delight, and it was a real privilege to be able to connect with you at those events also. And as I mentioned earlier, for connecting me to Phil Campbell, who has an instrumental effect in changing my whole life. So I have you to thank for that. So appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. You're very welcome. Great talking to you, and I hope we can do this again soon.
Okay, well, thank you, Greta.
Thanks so much.